It is my privilege and honor to welcome Her Excellency Ms. Yasil Burillo, Ambassador and Consul General, Embassy of Panama, Mr. Arunandan, Director, FT-LAC, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India, Dr. Vidya Yeravdekar, Chairperson FICCI Higher Education Committee and Pro-Chancellor, Symbiosis International University, Professor Rajagopal, Distinguished Full Professor and National Researcher, E-Gate Business School, Mexico City. In addition to this, he also recently was nominated and received the Pravasi Bharatiya Samman, the highest civilian honor for the people of Indian origin. All the esteemed panelists, speakers from India and Latin America, and all the participants at this inaugural session of India-LAC Cooperation in EDU4. Latin America is the fourth largest tech market globally in terms of revenue, and its market share is expected to, its market is expected to grow up to $3 billion by 2023. Latin America and Caribbean region has a robust demand for e-education and also has a competitive advantage, as approximately 533 million internet users are there in the region. Hence, there is a vast scope for e-learning. The Latin America region has also adopted educational policies in the recent past that has encouraged digitalization. And this gives an incentive to companies across the world to have an easy access to the Latin American market. Interestingly, and this information may be slightly dated, but nevertheless, UNESCO stated in one of its report a year or 2 years back that approximately 12 million adults in 20 Latin American countries have access to some form or the other online forum for education. Thus, this population across the continent have some access and know-how of online education portals, and so that becomes a good starting point for companies across the globe who want to access that market, as there will be a saving. They don't need to spend in a know-how for creating an awareness of the sector. India, on the other hand, is the second largest market itself of e-learning service providers after the US. The Indian online education market is forecast to be worth $8.6 billion by 2026. India also holds an important position in the global education industry. It has one of the largest network of higher education institutions in the world. Further, the Indian government has also added to our online education service providers facilitation by providing or accepting fully online degrees in some cases. This is something that could reshape the education industry, not only in India, but globally. The Indian online education market has expanded exponentially with approximately 4,500 startups. So if you leverage all these parameters to our advantage, providing education to the LAC region will expand the addressable market of the companies and increase international presence. Additionally, entering LAC market provides the possibility to open streams of revenue for the Indian edutech company. Several Indian companies like TCS and Manipal Group of Institutions are already present in the region. To further enhance cooperation between India and Latin America in the education sector, FICCI will be happy to lead in setting up working groups to facilitate dialogue and continuous engagement. FICCI can also facilitate training on soft skills and intercultural skills by partnering with universities or forming a university consortium to address the language barrier. These are some of the thoughts that we feel could eventually support and pave the way for creating avenues and expanding opportunities for a robust cooperation between India and Latin America in the education sector. With these words, I welcome you all again, and I'm confident that we would have very fruitful deliberation this evening and a successful exhibition and B2B meeting for the next 3 days. With this, I may now invite Dr. Vidya Yeravdekar to kindly deliver her opening remarks. Dr. Vidya, over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Imran. August members here in front of me and others who I cannot really see, but there are plenty who have joined here. On behalf of FICCI, I welcome all of you to this wonderful collaborative seminar, I would say, on India, Latin America, and the Caribbean. The National Education Policy of India, which was rolled out in 2020, is facilitating internationalization of higher education. And through the last 2 years, the 20 and 21, we have seen how Indian educators have moved from something which we were not used to at all, which was offline or face-to-face education or learning, to suddenly online learning. And we also saw a big spurge of Indian edtech companies that have suddenly come up, and I would say are doing very well. We never did realize that India would be one of the largest edtech providers, for the world. We were always providing global workforce through inviting foreign students to Indian universities, building capabilities, and sending them back to their home country so that they get empowered and are do help in the workforce of their host country. But I think through edtech programs, now this has been furthermore increased, and the Indian edtech companies are providing online education to several students across the globe. There are so many Indian universities, and more specifically the category 1 or the highly NAC accredited Indian universities that also provide online education. The Ministry of External Affairs has been facilitating online education by providing scholarships to African students. For me personally, who's a great proponent of internationalization of higher education, I always feel that the LAC region has been left out. It's not on the radar of Indian higher education institutions. More recently, I have been very well connected with several networks and universities in this region, not only through FICCI, but through another cap that I wear, where I chair the Obrial Global Network, which was born out of University of Barcelona, but had several people from Argentina in Barcelona working for this network. And they developed very strong collaborations with universities and networks in the LAC region. And then I always wondered that it was only distance that kept us away. For Indians, people in LAC feel that India is far away, and more specifically for Indians, we feel that LAC is a region that is too away from India, which is almost unreachable. But when you start interacting with people there, when specifically you interact with academia or young people, you realize that there is a lot of common culture that we actually can compare ourselves with. And a large amount of networks and collaborations more recently, I would say just in the last 2 to 3 years, have been developed between Indian higher education institutions and institutions in the LAC region. In fact, I've been invited I think it's on the 20th and 21st March for a seminar there by the Ministry of Education. And I hope I can go there and talk about the Indian higher education system. But I feel that somewhere we need to bring people, from both these regions together, and more importantly, young people together. So my appeal to people from the LAC region, and we also have our excellency, is that we should send Indian students to this region, and we should have many of those foreign students from this region coming to India. They may not initially agree to come for full-time programs, but they can certainly enroll for the EdTech programs and can certainly come for short-term programs to Indian universities. Through the National Education Policy, the UGC has facilitated dual degrees, joint degrees, and we can definitely see if Indian higher education institutions can collaborate with higher education institutions in this region to provide dual and joint degrees. So I'm very sure that, with these kind of workshops that FICCI has organized and brought people together, it's not just the Indian edtech companies that can build capabilities in this region, but more importantly, Indian higher education institutions through their online programs, or even by inviting students from these regions, can build capabilities. I can see a strong South-South collaboration being developed through such initiatives. And we always looked at the North, whether it was Europe or US. I think it's high time we start looking to our partners in the Southern or the Global South, because then we realize that the problems that we face is the problems that they face. A lot of joint research can happen between faculty of those regions and ours, and solutions for local problems can certainly be found. So I wish this workshop great success, and I hope more and more collaborations do take place after these interactions from today onwards. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Vidya. You've been a pillar of support, and me and Dr. Rajesh have discussed this always. Thank you again for leading the FICCI education vertical. Thank you. May I now request Professor Rajagopal, Distinguished Full Professor and National Researcher, eGate Business School, Tecnológico de Monterrey, if I have pronounced that right, at Mexico City. Professor, the floor is yours. You are on mute, sir. You are on mute.
Thank you, Imran, for giving me the opportunity to share my views with FICCI, as well as all the delegates here who are attending this conference. So before I start, let me address my session to all the delegates and Dr. Vidya Arbadekar, who is the chair of FICCI Higher Education Committee and Pro-Chancellor of Symbiosis International University, His Excellency Ambassador and Consul General, Embassy of Panama in India, Ms. Yasel Burillo, and Mr. Akash Taneja, who is the Joint Secretary in the Ministry of Commerce. So it has been my privilege to be here with all of you to discuss a couple of issues regarding the possibilities of Indian industry, educational industry, to get in touch with the Latin American countries and just contribute to the Education 4.0 revolution. So when we talk about the Education 4.0 revolution, it is fundamentally a convergence of the Industry 4.0. Because when we talk about this industry, particularly, this is the industry which is having a high technology oriented and which deals with artificial intelligence and machine language. So one very important point here is that in Latin American countries, most of the educational institutions, at top level educational institutions, whether they are the public institutions or private institutions, both are struggling very hard. And you see, they have already invested a lot of resources in digitizing the education. So we do have a lot of scope for the Indian technology industry to get into the educational field in Latin America and Caribbean and develop a synchronization with the industry and education. Now, take an example about the artificial intelligence. So particularly in my school at Agade Business School and Tecnológico de Monterrey, which is one of the largest private institution, private university, which is having about 26 campuses within the country and about 10 campuses outside the country in Europe and in United States and Canada. So we largely focus on the artificial intelligence in classroom teaching. And when we talk about the artificial intelligence, it is not only just going for some of the digital platforms, but also creating simulations which gives the student a feel of a classroom, even when they are taking remotely. There's experiments we have done during the pandemic when the entire universities were under the lockdown, and the entire face-to-face operations were shut down there. So at that time, we developed a simulation in which you feel that, you see, well, the student feels that a professor is, in fact, giving the classes even for the remote sessions. In most of the universities in Latin America, particularly, I will take an example of the University of Tecnológico de Monterrey, where we do have a separate system, a separate administrative network, and which is a separate university by itself, and it's called as a virtual university, where we do have the artificial intelligence classes, where the questions can be asked to the professor. And the professors appear as one of the icons on the platform, and they start responding to the possible questions, because whenever we design the course, at that time, we explore that what could be the possible questions for this kind of sessions. And apart from that, the professor will also be sitting by the side of the entire screen, so that if any question appears which is beyond those questions which have already been listed, will be answered by the professor. So it is an interaction of a human and machine language together. So similar experiment has also been done in Costa Rica. There is one of the very known business school, and that business school is also rated by FT very high rating in the Latin America, which stands number 5, if I rightly remember. In 2021, it has been it was ranking number 5. And in that particular school also, they have experimented the artificial intelligence in the classroom. So beyond this, one of the major focus of the Education 4.0, which is adapted by most of the Latin American countries, is about the converging the knowledge, skills, and practice. So we do have the labs, we do have the learning labs, we do have the learning clinics. So where the students, they go and they will be able to attend to many of the problem-solving situations. And that particular platform is meant for the knowing, doing, and being. And when we talk about this knowing, doing, and being, it is particularly for those people who are working managers or who are the entrepreneurs. So mostly the entrepreneurs, they join the MBA programs in Latin America to learn more about, because they know how to practice. But the thing is that they also would like to know the new concepts. They would also like to know that how they can converge the best practices with their enterprises. So the most significant focus of education in Latin America, particularly some of the universities, take an example in Chile, Peru, Costa Rica, and Mexico, also in Argentina. So they all are focusing on the applied perspectives, and many mega corporations, take an example of one of the companies. I will not name the company because it is still going to be one of the leading companies in technology. And you see, they don't want that, to be grow publicly right now to avoid market competition. And they are introducing the metaverse in education. So, the metaverse is that a new digital environment. And this new digital environment with the sensors, you can feel that, even from the remotest place, that you are at the destination. So this is one the recent development in Mexico we found, particularly in my university, Tecnológico de Monterrey, and the public university, that is the UNAM, which is the National Autonomous University of Mexico. National Autonomous University of Mexico has got a lot of resources because all the government public funding goes there, and they invest a lot in digitization and applying the artificial intelligence to educational sector. Many companies, like there are many Indian companies in Mexico. Approximately there are about 20 plus companies, if I rightly remember, who are in pharmaceuticals, then food and chemicals. So take an example of United Phosphates Limited and pharmaceutical industries like Sun Pharma, Lupin. These are all the companies which are in Mexico, and they are also investing, they're also supporting the educational system as a part of the corporate social responsibility, because that is also one of the concerns of the government, and the government wants that the private sector companies must put more energy and more time and more effort in developing the education as one of the technology-based industry. So these are a couple of things, and then another experiment what we do in association with some of the international educational institutions, like take an example of Harvard Business School or MIT, or the institutions like INSEAD in France. That is about the computer-aided creative learning. And when we talk about computer-aided creative learning, this is somewhat developing a semantics. A semantics is from one particular concept, how you can generate several other concepts, and you see how you can synchronize that. And that is one of the very popular part of the asynchronous learning. Apart from that, the linking industry with education is also about the big data analysis, which is being helped by TCS, Wipro, and Infosys to a large extent in Mexico and Argentina. So the big data analysis is being used for research, and also particularly for the business schools in developing the business strategies. And most of the students who take the MBA programs here, and they are, as I told you, that you see already they are in the companies, so they also try to be consultant to their companies and also to the other startups. Why the companies are going to help the startups? Because see, this is a consortium model. In the consortium model, one large company controls all the manufacturing and marketing activities, like manufacturing process, product designing, quality control, marketing strategy, customer relationship. But it is, they transfer the technology to many small startups. It is something like a Casio pattern of Japan. So where the consortium of the small industries, they help the large industries to grow simultaneously. So it is a win-win strategy, because the small industries will get the technology from the large industries, and large industries get the input from or the resources from the small micro and small industries. So these are a couple of things, and in this mostly the electronic sectors is very much benefited, like machine learning, artificial intelligence, then cyber physical systems. And cyber physical systems, integration of computers, networks, and the physical processes. This is one of the strongest strongest opportunity for many of the companies to get into the Latin American countries and do that, to see how best they can connect the cyber physical system. And apart from that is scaling up, as you know, this is classroom infrastructure. And after the classroom infrastructure and another scope for our Indian institutions to get into is about preparing the students for industries, because the Latin American students they always look for going overseas to work. And now currently their target is Europe, Spain. In Europe particularly, they go to France, Germany, Spain. So these are the three countries which are very popularly identified by these students. Apart from that, India is also one of the emerging destinations. And for that, the research scholars have really made a good initiatives. They have taken a good initiatives in moving to India. And there are many institutions, Indian institutions, business institutions, and also the scientific institutions, like take an example of CSIR and CCMB. And in humanities and social sciences, Indian Council of Social Science Research. These are all the institutions which have made the memorandum of understanding with the Mexican educational service providers and the Mexican educational departments. Particularly there also we do have a leading institutions which is called as the National Council of Science and Technology. And that is the only one which takes care of all disciplines. Unlike India, where we do have CSIR, ICSSR. One is for scientific and industrial research and another one for the social science research. And we do have the biotechnology research. So here in not only in Mexico, but you see in other Latin American countries also, we do have a single institutions, maybe in the Argentina, Chile, and Venezuela also at one point of time, the institutions which were a single nodal institutions, they were very effective in establishing bilateral relationship, educational relationship with the industry in India, as well as with the educational counterparts. So if you look at the scope of research and scope of educational exchange, there are a couple of possibilities. The first is that about the establishing dual degrees. Because here in Latin America, people love to have the dual degrees. And I'm already having, I have initiated a couple of dual degrees here. The one is with the Boston University. So where students take about 16 courses they study in their university, that is in Tecnológico de Monterrey, and the 8 courses, and those 8 courses are either online or hybrid. When we talk hybrid, and that is particularly a crash programs, largely in the summer, they come for about 2 weeks and they study 3 or 4 courses. And these are a couple of opportunities. And apart from that, the management development programs, or you may call it as executive development programs, or you may call it as the distance education program on the lines of Harvard Business School. The most of the Latin American countries have been benefited with the educational system of US universities, like take an example of Yale University or Stanford or Princeton University or Harvard Business School or Boston University or MIT. So Here we are having in Boston, I'm in Boston, and in Boston University, we do have the extension education programs, and those extension education programs are replicated. So the Latin America is now looking for the American counterparts. So there is also a possibility that we can, Indian institutions, Indian educational institutions can pursue the dual degree programs, which does matter. And only what matters here in almost all Latin American universities of top level is the accreditation. So we need to have international accreditation. Like take an example of my school, and my university and my school, it is having a triple accreditation, and that makes the entire university status to go on the top level. And this accreditation is from AACSB, and all of us, we know AACSB, we know EQUIS. EQUIS is from Europe, which is administered by the French office. France office, and then we do have AMBA, and that is from the UK. So if we do have these accreditations in India, and I'm pretty sure that many institutions have acquired accreditation from AACSB and AMBA and EQUIS, those institutions will really have a very good opportunities to negotiate with Latin American universities and Latin American schools to have any kind of educational interactions and educational programs to sign on the Memorandum of Understanding. So apart from that, the online certifications, this is one of the big craze in Latin America, that most of the working managers, they would like to upgrade their knowledge continuously. Like take an example of project management, and project management and Scrum Master certification. I have seen in Mexico, many Mexican managers have taken the Scrum Manager certification from Indian institutions. Because there's good for them, there's easy for them, they financially as well as the academically, because that also has a good academic value. And in Latin America, the Indian educational system is highly regarded. There is very high respect for the Indian education system. So in this way, we do have a lot of scope, and online certifications, at least we can start with online certifications. And recently we are working on it, and most likely in March, we are going to officially announce the India-Mexico Research Consortium. We are working with Mexican government, Mexican institutions, and there are many Indian institutions who have joined. And this initiative has been taken by the Indian embassy in Mexico City. So I'm the convener of that particular consortium, and we are working very rigorously on developing the website. And we are launching 3 research bulletins with a lot of information of the local institutions, their announcements, what they need. Here, people want the postdoctors. The postdoctoral programs are vacant here, because they need most of the Asian communities, particularly from China, from Japan, from India, from Singapore, from Thailand. So these are a couple of opportunities we do have. So with this, I conclude. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. And I hope to see more engagement of Indian institutions in Latin American and Caribbean region. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for so comprehensively taking us through the landscape of the sector in Latin America and how we can collaborate and which areas we can work together. Thank you again very much for sharing those thoughts of yours. Well, before I invite the next speaker, I'm happy to share that this inaugural session is being streamed live on Fiki Bike platform. We have more than 70 or 75 participants watching this live streaming, both from India and Latin America. Now it's my pleasure and absolute privilege to invite Ambassador Her Excellency Ms. Yasel Burillo. Excellency is Ambassador and Consul General, Embassy of Panama in India. Excellency, floor is yours.
Hello, everybody can hear me. Well, just I want to first send my excuses because my camera in my computer is totally off for this conference, unfortunately. So my charge d'affaires, my commercial attaché just brought me his computer and his Dr. Samuel, which is the name that you're reading here right now. So it's me, I'm the ambassador. So first of all, I would like to really thank Fiki for the opportunity of being here and for this invitation and sending a good afternoon to all the distinguished guests invited to this India-LAC Cooperation in Education 4.0, all ladies and gentlemen. So I'm going to speak a little bit about my experience exchanging education in India. But first, I will talk about what is happening in Latin America. I think that Mr. Rajab Bhopal talked a lot already and make us a good introduction of how you see from the north to the south, from Mexico to Argentina and Chile, like this good education. I think Latin America has already the 4.0 technology, and I myself study in a university that has that just launched an intelligence building with the latest technologies in computers and in labs. We are always seeking, of course, to be on top and updated in all the technology we need. But also, we are a very small country. I represent Panama, which is 4 million people, and it has a territory the size of Assam state here in India. So that is the smallest of my territory. But still, we have a small population. But we have discovered 5 years ago that we were seeking for careers for the future. We know that our universities has what we need for local corporates, but we need to prepare ourselves for the future. So there is this institution in Panama that provide loans to the students to study abroad. And this institution make a study and say, okay, this is a projection of Panama, and in 10 years or in 20, 15 years, we will need these careers to be developed. So maybe we are lacking professionals in these technology areas, and we have to seek scholarships outside Panama, or students can find their loans, but in a specific career that the country needs to be prepared for the future, because we're a small population. So people is studying similar careers, and you just have to see the gaps and say, hey, we have to fill this gap and seek these careers overseas. So in that sense, in my tenure, I have the privilege of seeking and exploring education in India. And I say to myself, well, if my country is seeking for opportunities in careers that has to be with technology, I think that Bangalore was the place to seek for scholarship. Bangalore was the place to seek for promoting Panamanian students to go. And I make like an exploration process with some universities. I'm just sharing with you my experience as ambassador here, because I think this is the idea of this conference, to see what are the opportunities and what we're doing in Latin America to seek education in India for our students too. So in my case, I don't have like students here like a couple of years ago, but after this exploration process last year that it began, I begin with first getting to know the universities that will cooperate with my embassies regarding MOUs and regarding kind of getting to know that they have the careers I'm seeking. And I go physically to each university and make the exploration process and make my reports and seek for scholarship, which is what my government was seeking. And it was a good experience to know that I just traveled to Bangalore and I have the experience to see very impressive startup labs and universities that has a lot of patented inventions from students. I was really amazed by the quantity of patents and these universities has, like the creativity of invent and work on that. No, I think that there is so much talent in the universities, and we have to copy all those things. And I have the opportunity to go to a university in Haryana, in Chandigarh, and 3 universities in Bangalore. Very good universities. And as I mentioned, I was not only impressed by the startups and the pharma labs they have, by the atmosphere, the aerospace technology, and this kind of careers. No, and I say to myself, we have to do something. I have to do a marketing. I think that this is our job as ambassador to convince Panamanian students to come here. As you may know, we have the distance and the time zone challenge, no? And Panamanian students or Latin America students doesn't know so much about education in India. So my second phase was to create with different institutions in Panama, like a marketing campaign to promote for 3 months these positions available for Panamanian students and the benefits of studying in India. I think that India has, first of all, the English language. And in my country, the second speaking language and through all Latin America is English. So that's a plus for India. I think also that the education is accessible. It doesn't have the prices of the United States and Europe. And you can have good education that it's accessible to Latin America students still. They need some loans to travel over here, especially if there's people that want, or students that want to study education outside, but need to be like financing prepared. So with this marketing campaign, we prepare regarding the benefits and also the way of living here. It's not expensive too. I think that some students can afford the how you say the living, no, the food, the hostage. I think it's more economical than other countries, and that's an opportunity again for India. And the education it's really good. So after making this marketing campaign with several institutions, doing the websites and having like Twitter because at the end students see Twitter and these kind of platforms. We make a campaign together. I sit with a lot of people in Panama, and at the end, they go to the embassy, they apply for this scholarship, and at the end, we have a couple of students coming for August last year, and they are studying here in India, different careers. I'm very happy and proud that during my tenure, I can be the first student. So the idea of this is that they can have a testimonial when they get graduated. So we can promote with them their testimonials so other students can get convinced and can come to India, because it's a Panamanian student talking to another Panamanian student, and then with a testimony, you can they can feel confidence to come and join. They can make questions from student to student, but we need like those students that can be witness of the education in India and can share like their best practices, or they can share their experience. So their Panamanian students, as I say, can feel confident to come for the first time. And I think it's a process that will take some time, you know, but we are doing a good job here in the embassy regarding seeking for students to come and study in India. So other things we are trying to search is MOUs with universities, as I mentioned, and also be hand by hand by financial institutions to come and support these students that are coming so broad. Also, I have seen some examples of some universities that has worked with Guyana government and Guyana universities. So in some of these private universities, the professors woke up at 4 in the morning and they give classes to Guyana students that they are out of their jobs, like at 7 o'clock in the night. So they connect with these professors and they can continue their education through online, through universities in India. So there is already some pilot things happening, even though the time zone is different. Both continents and both countries have to adjust to make it possible. So education online is something that it's moving slow by slow as an open opportunity to increase education and promote it. So I think that in my experience, it has been very positive. I wish I could bring more students and in my tenure, and that's the idea. But I think marketing is very important, and also the testimonial and sharing of Latin America students here to other Latin Americans. It's very important to create a credibility and confidence among them. So this is my experience I'm sharing with you, and thanks for the invitation.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for sharing. In fact, the one of the key pillars of this cooperation between India and Latin America is the support of the diplomatic community on both sides. So thank you again for that support and sharing your thoughts and experiences. And a warm welcome to Dr. Samuel Ferreira also. I realize he's also there. So thank you very much, Doctor, for joining us too. Thank you again, Your Excellency. Next speaker, unfortunately, we do not have Shri Akash Taneja and Aulanandan ji, but nevertheless, we have equally energetic and dynamic Under Secretary at the Ministry of Commerce, FT-LAC Division, Ms. Ruchika. Ms. Ruchika, floor is yours.
Thank you, Imran, for sharing this platform. Greetings to Her Excellency and esteemed guests and organizers. I'm Ruchika Bhatt. I am engaged as Under Secretary in the Department of Commerce. Well, post-COVID-19 pandemic, the education sector has multi-dimensional growth. It has seen multi-dimensional growth across the globe. Right from a beginner to a research scholar, this sector has a huge coverage. And as Professor Rajgopal rightly said, that digitalization has multiplied the outreach over the years. So we have moved far ahead from the traditional education system, and India holds a prominent place in the global education industry. But still, we see a lot of scope there is a lot of potential that is to be tapped. Not buying much of your time, the Department of Commerce looks forward that such an educational alliance as initiated by FICCI will definitely be fruitful for both the regions, India as well as the Latin America. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for your insight. May I now request our sectoral head, Dr. Rajesh Pankaj, to share and conclude the session. Rajesh, floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Imran, Her Excellency, and other distinguished panelists out there. I'll be very quick. Maybe in 2 minutes, I'll just kind of try and share my thoughts. So, there wouldn't have been or couldn't have been a better time to talk about internationalization of higher education than now. I've been in this space for more than 16 years now, and we've seen this evolutionary journey evolve with NEP coming into place, and then NEP talking about a proper legislative framework, which would kind of in due course of time come up. And before that legislative framework comes up, we already have a draft regulation in place, which talks about foreign university opening up campuses in India. Or for that matter, the dual degree, joint degree regulation that came up a few months back. In fact, last year it came up. Dr. Vidya touched upon that. So at the level of establishment, for that matter, Ministry of Commerce. Ministry of Commerce is one of the ministries, that we've been working with. And there are 10 champion services sector that has been identified, and education happens to be one of it. And there's a massive focus around internationalization. In fact, FICCI happens to be a natural platform, to promote internationalization of higher education, in the country through various ways. In fact, we do a big conference in the month of November where we get, hordes of people from all across the world. And Latin America certainly is one region that is kind of popping up, as Dr. Vidya was highlighting, that there are networks that already kind of come into place. And as FICCI, we're trying to kind of look around that. So at the level of establishment, there's so much of work that's happening around internationalization, and therefore there's such an exciting time. And there's something called Study in India program, which is already in its 5th year of its execution. And of course, it's currently focusing on the developing world, but Latin America certainly kind of would become one of the regions going forward, given the data point that Imran shared, in the kind of 5.3 million students who are there, and not just in the form of online education, but otherwise also. And with all these deliberations as FICCI that we're doing, I mean, going forward, we'll only see this region getting traction and becoming important, and therefore also becoming a focus country in Study in India program. Symbiosis and Symbiosis International University, like institutions in the country. I mean, we have 18 of them as FICCI higher education members, and they are massively, aggressively looking at promoting internationalization through various ways and means at their level. I mean, establishment regulation is one part of it, but the fact that these promoters, chancellors, and vice chancellors are aggressively looking at boundary-less education is something that's also kind of adding up to this whole piece as a third leg of it. And of course, FICCI as an entity, as an organization, has been hand-holding, has been supporting, has been working around promoting internationalization. In fact, this is one of the 4 out of 4 pillars that we work in higher education, project management and advocacy and thought leadership. Internationalization is a 4th important pillar. So from FICCI's perspective, we are very, very gung-ho about the fact that there's so much of work that's happening at the level of establishment, and with such engagements, it's only going to accelerate with time. I'll quickly touch upon 1 or 2 things that Professor Rajagopal talked about. The consortium that you mentioned, Dr. Rajagopal, that's something which really would be a good kickstart, to look at that region as an important region, because it has to start from some country. So LAC as a region may not come together, to kind of come up with a framework, but if Mexico has started off with, that will be a great thing going forward. You also talked about the fact that this AACSB, EMBA, and ECOWAS accreditation, India, I mean, as FICCI, as national association body, we've been working around ensuring that accreditation becomes the linchpin. In fact, the NEP talks about accreditation being the linchpin of all reforms that we're talking about. In fact, we would know of so many business schools that are going for such international accreditation, and they have multiples of such accreditation going forward. And therefore, India and Latin America would become an exciting preposition as far as partnerships are concerned. And with this, of course, FICCI's role becomes very important. As I said, that Imran at the outset did mention that we may be looked upon as a business trade organization, kind of a organization, but the fact that social sector in FICCI is very strong, and higher education certainly is one of it. So we would give our best to ensure that we, from time to time, intermittently, through various ways and means, try and promote this whole piece with respect to LAC and India. With respect to LAC in India in higher education and promoting international higher education, so to say. So with these words, I would want to conclude and hand over to you, Imran. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rajesh, for sharing your views. And with this, so we are right at the end. We have slightly overstayed our mandate by 5 minutes, but that was totally worth it. Thank you, everyone, again. Thank you, Professor Rajagopal, Dr. Vidya Ardekar, Her Excellency Yasil Burillo, Ruchika from Department of Commerce, and all other colleagues, and who are also people listening and tune into this session live on FICCI Bike platform. Thank you very much. We look forward
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.